as promised, we have Dr. Vaughn Lawrence in studio from Spirit of Health. Spirit of Health is a great friend of the show's. So, Dr. V,
yeah,
let's tell them about the Complete Wellness Center at Spirit of Health, 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri.
Yeah, if you haven't been down, come check it out. We have a retail store, vitamins, minerals, over 200 herbs. We have about 60 of our own formulas we've created, herbal formulas, and a lot of those are now in capsules. We've created some new formulas in capsules that are very popular. And we have, Eden Studios, which is a dance studio, Pilates studio, pre- and postnatal classes for the pregnant mamas out there. And we do consultations, of course, work with people with chronic illness, do root cause medicine, use lab work like blood test, urine, checking for toxicity deficiencies, finding the root cause of why people are sick and helping them rebuild or detox, usually a combination of both, to help people get well who are dealing with chronic illness without answers. And what I missed, some therapies. Yeah, we do. We have the sauna, we have foot bath, we do neurofeedback. We have a whole bunch of really helpful therapies as well.
That is a total complete wellness center. SpiritofHealthKC.com for more information. Everything is available online, and you can get, well, not everything, but the supplements are available online, and you can get them shipped directly to your house, so you don't have to leave. But the difference between Spirit of Health and going to a big box store or a grocery store and buying, let's just say, magnesium, it's a huge difference, right?
Yeah, it's all about quality, sourcing, getting the best quality. I always say, how do we get it as close to the way God created it as possible into a bottle with the least amount of processing? And so that's what we shoot for in all of the things that we carry. And definitely a lot of the big box store products are not good quality. And in fact, I think I mentioned on the last show, most, if not all of them in those big box stores are actually owned by pharmaceutical companies. So trust me, quality is not their concern.
and a lot of people don't know the kind of magnesium to get.
Right.
There is different kinds.
Right.
Yeah. So what you do is vet all your products.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything goes through me.
And that's the way it should be. So if you want a trusted company for your supplements, go to Spirit of Health right there on Main Street, right off of Highway 49, 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri. SpiritofHealthKC.com. I'd also like to thank, as I promised, we have Dr. Vaughn Lawrence from Spirit of Health in. And I think we missed a show, didn't we?
A couple shows ago, yeah.
Couple shows ago.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get to your questions here, and I told everybody that we were going to be on, and you sent the questions in. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them, but you can always text 913-303-0550 with any questions during the show, and I'll try to get them out there. But we've done this show so many times, Dr. Vaughn and I, we're never going to get through all of these, but we're going to try. So on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to dive into some of your questions with Dr. Vaughn Lawrence and Spirit. Welcome back to This is Kansas City. We are joined with Spirit of Health, Dr. Vaughn Lawrence, 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri. You can call him at 816-492-5648, or you can go to spiritofhealthkc.com, and we're going to try to answer some of these questions. So,
let's do it.
Doctor, I'm going to dive right in, right?
Love it.
Couple of these questions are from our last show, and I know it might have sounded uncomfortable, but we do have
it's supposed to.
We have to talk about it, right?
Right.
Parasites are not a great thing, but they're all around us.
Absolutely. And in us.
And in us. And a lot of people have them, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a question from a listener. And by the way, if you want to send a question in, you can go to thisiskansascity.com at the bottom of the homepage, type a comment in, and I will get it answered, or you can text on the text line. Doctor, if parasites come from all different forms, like we talked about last time, some are microscopic.
Right.
They were called the
Protozoas. Yep.
Protozoas.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know if you have one?
Well, there's a couple of different things you can do. So most people, they have symptoms, right? They don't feel good. And I would think mainly, like, there's a lot of different symptoms related to parasites, but you also have to remember parasite means to dine at another's table, which we mentioned last time, which means they want to live in and off of their host without being detected. So that's actually the goal of a parasite, is like, I'm going to live off of you and you're not going to know I'm there, right? So that's the goal. But eventually they become so problematic and they're creating so many toxins and poisons in your body that you're going to have symptoms. So think mainly digestive symptoms. Of course, it can be other things. When I say other things, I'm talking like people can incessantly bite their nails or grind their teeth, have sleep problems, but a lot of digestive stuff. So think of like abdominal pain, cramping,
diarrhea,
occasional diarrhea, nausea, bloating, gas. A big one's unexplained weight loss. If somebody loses weight quickly and it's just totally random, you're like, oh my gosh, that person just lost 30 pounds. Like, what is going on? That can be parasites. Now, this is crazy. You can look this up. This just popped in my mind. In the early to mid 1900s, they used to advertise and sell people taking parasites on purpose by mouth for weight loss. People would take and swallow tapeworms on purpose to lose weight. So anyway, look that one up. That's just disgusting. That's like medical oddities of like our human history, right?
That is so.
So yeah, chronic fatigue, anal itching is a big one, right? People's butt itches all the time. That's usually pinworms. That happens a lot with kids. So just think of a lot of like gut-related, digestive-related type of symptoms. Rashes are a common thing that can pop up with people. So in other words, like, they can seem like symptoms of other. I'm having gut problems. I'm having digestive problems. Maybe that food's not sitting right with me. Maybe I got food poisoning. I got a rash. That's random. Maybe I'm sick. So it's really hard to know that you have parasites because the symptoms we just think are something else. Now, from a lab perspective, I look at eosinophils in blood, eosinophils and basophils. Those are our two best immune markers to indicate a parasite problem. And then I will do stool samples as well. And so sometimes parasites will actually show in the stool samples, or there's an eosinophil marker. It's called fecal eosinophil protein X. And if that marker shows up in the gut, in other words, increased eosinophil activity in the gut, that also would indicate parasites in the gut. So those would be the two main ways, symptoms and lab work.
So the lab work could actually show markers that would indicate parasites.
Correct. Specifically eosinophils and basophils.
Okay, so can you have parasites without symptoms?
Yes. And many people do.
So they're in your body. You just don't have any symptoms.
Correct.
But you might have symptoms and just don't know it.
Right. People walk around like, what's your normal? Well, your normal is I'm tired all the time and I don't sleep great and
don't have a lot of energy.
And I don't have energy and I bloat sometimes when I eat. Like, that's my normal. Right. And so people don't know any different because they're just living their normal. Well, they possibly could be living much better and healthier and more energetic if they didn't have these issues, but they don't know it, or B, they've just accepted their normal, right?
This person who sent that question in also said, I've been going to my doctors for 15 to 20 years, and they can't stop my abdominal pain, gas, my bloating, my nausea. They just give me medication.
Sure.
Why doesn't a doctor test for parasites?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, especially a gastroenterologist, right? That's a GI doctor, a gut doctor. They should be checking for, I'll tell you what the number one problem with all gastrointestinal issues are. So listen up, if you have Crohn's, colitis, diverticulitis, any celiac disease, right? I'm gluten intolerant, right? any of these diseases, I will tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, that every single one of these people, you, if you have this diagnosis or somebody you know, has infectious disease in your gut. So when you go to your gastroenterologist, how many times are they saying, oh, you probably have an infectious disease. Let's figure out what it is and solve it? No. They're giving you pain meds. They're giving you steroids. They're giving you immunosuppressant drugs because you have an autoimmune gut condition. They're giving you drugs to manage the symptoms. They're never discovering the root cause, which is infectious disease, and they're not treating the infectious disease. The closest they ever get to treating infectious disease is giving you an antibiotic, which usually gives you temporary relief, but as we all know, damages our good gut flora and causes more long-term problems than it solves.
Antibiotics do?
Antibiotics, right.
Okay, and then your body can build up a tolerance for antibiotics.
Oh, absolutely. And some people are deathly intolerant to antibiotics in the first place. I mean, what is penicillin? Penicillium. It's mold.
It's mold.
Yeah, so you're giving people mold to treat an infectious disease. People have mold in their bodies. They're intolerant to mold. They have a deathly reaction to the antibiotic, and the doctor's like, oh, sorry, let's try another one, right? Like they have no idea. So it's just like a game of roulette sometimes, which is a little bit scary.
You know, a lot of people, it's not a subject that, you really want, but we have to talk about it, right? And I haven't heard anything about parasites or any of that, aside from maybe the occasional news story that says ticks are out there or it's going to become tick season.
Well, we
soon.
talk about it all the time with our dogs and our cats.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about it with humans?
I don't know.
What's wrong?
I don't know.
So it's a problem in our dogs and our cats and our sheeps and our goats and our horses, but it's not a problem in our humans? Right?
Why don't they?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Come on. Well, it's going to change.
It is going to change.
It's got to change.
All right, follow-up question. Can parasites multiply once they're in? Let's say, all right, you eat a piece of food that has some parasites in it, some pathogens or something in it.
Yes.
Protozoas.
Right.
Can they multiply inside your body, or if you eat some, can you get rid of them they multiply? They multiply,
and it's
they lay egg. They actually multiply.
Oh man. Yeah. Look up the statistics. It's pretty frightening, honestly. And when I say this, I'm going to say it very clearly so that I'm not saying it wrong.
Okay.
This isn't a typo, so to speak. This isn't I'm not misspeaking here when I say that roundworms, which are Ascaris, which are a big deal out there. Anybody out there who has seizure disorders, know somebody who has epilepsy or seizures or has a disease like MS, multiple sclerosis, it's usually parasites in the brain. I don't want to say always, but usually. And the main parasite that can cause that is Ascaris, which is a roundworm. And Ascaris roundworms lay, and I'm not saying this wrong, I'm saying this correctly, 200,000 eggs daily. Every single day. So if you have roundworms, they lay 200,000 eggs daily in your body. And we wonder why people have chronic disease. We wonder why people with seizure disorders don't get well, and they're just managing their seizures on medications. And I have a lot of seizure patients right now. And I'll tell you what, some of them are able to manage it with drugs. Some of them aren't. Some of them have tried all the drugs, all kinds of different dosages, and it's still not touching it. And I tell you what, whether you're managing it with medication or you're not able to manage it with medication, you better look into parasites in the brain, because that is a problem. So flukes, like we've heard of blood flukes, liver flukes, pancreatic flukes, lung flukes. Again, very common. We talk about this with farm animals. We don't talk about it with people. They lay up to 3,000 eggs a day. And then you have pinworms. I mentioned like the itchy butt, right? A lot of times with kids have pinworms, up to 10 to 15,000 eggs every day. And on and on and on. And so the immune system is going to kill a lot of them, right? Because we have an immune system supposed to take care of these things. And just like if anything is in fear and their goal is survival, their goal is to reproduce. If you've ever gardened, when that lettuce or arugula or whatever you're growing grows to seed, right? It shoots up real fast and dumps a bunch of seeds on the ground because it's trying to survive. It's at the end of its life cycle. Parasites do the same thing. They're going to lay tens of thousands every day of eggs every single day to try to continue to survive in that environment, which is why I'm hardcore about parasite cleansing. And when I know a person has a parasite cleansing, we don't do one parasite cleanse and we're all done. Like, that's the mistake people make. Oh, I did a parasite cleanse, I'm good. No, you're not. Like, I parasite cleanse people for months sometimes. And then even when we think all the parasites are gone, we do a maintenance program for months. If you know you have a parasite issue, you better figure 1 good year to work on those parasites and get rid of all those eggs, lest they come back over and over and over again. And everyone out there, guys, this is very, very real. If you know somebody who's sick or you yourself are sick, you better look into parasites because it's very real.
It just doesn't sound the greatest, but
no,
you have to get it taken care of. So I understand. But then they go through all that for a year. And it's not that bad to go through.
You're just taking some stuff every day. It ain't complicated.
It doesn't. It's not bad or anything. But the question remains: what if they complete all that and they're out of the body? They can always get them again.
Oh, sure. You're always at risk of getting reinfected.
Food, right?
Right. Food. Animals are probably the worst.
Okay.
For all you cat lovers out there, God bless you, but cats are the worst when it comes to parasites and infectious disease. Dogs are bad too. Don't let your animals, lick you in the mouth. Be really careful with your dog poop. You pick up dog poop, like wash your hands, right? Like, we got to do the common sense things. I always tell pregnant women or nursing women, never, ever, ever touch kitty litter. Ever. Just too high of a risk. And I know babies. I've had to do parasite cleanses in babies.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of what the baby, it doesn't matter if there's a dog around or if
absolutely.
there's a cat around.
People have pets and the kids get into stuff and they walk around barefoot in the yard and they step in poop and they grab poop and they stick it in their mouth. I mean, they're babies. They're just trying to figure things out, right?
Don't chew on a dog toy.
Yeah, they're just experimenting. So your young kids probably have parasites too, especially if you have pets, live on a farm. Again, you can encounter this stuff anywhere. So none of us are immune. You're not going to live in a bubble. You're not going to hide from parasites. You have to do parasite cleanses and you have to have a strong immune system. And that's what we don't have today. 1, we don't have awareness of the parasite problem. 2, we don't parasite cleanse often enough. And 3, we don't have a clean enough living environment to keep from getting reinfected. So you really have to be diligent about it.
And these parasites can cause chronic illness.
Oh, the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Hulda Clark in the 1980s, either people loved her and thought she was brilliant or people thought she was like a psycho crazy lady, right? But she wrote multiple books. She wrote a book called The Cure for All Diseases. She wrote another book called The Cure for Cancer. 1980s. And these were thick books. These were like 800-page books. Guess what the books were about? Parasites.
Okay.
Parasites. And it was about all diseases. She went through thousands of documented cases, from a woman with ovarian cysts and fibroids to somebody with, I mentioned MS, to seizure disorders, to cancer, to it doesn't matter what the disease, parasites were involved. Now, I've said this before, so I'll say it again. I'm not being fear-based. I'm not trying to tell you everything out there is caused by parasites. I don't believe that. But I believe parasites is a huge problem. And I believe if you have a diagnosed disease, you've been sick for years or decades, if you don't have a solution to your sickness and why you're not well, no doctor's been able to help you, this has been an ongoing battle, then if you haven't done a parasite cleanse, you are missing out, because that very well could be the first step to you getting better. Because there's other issues. We've talked about mold toxicity. We know the environmental toxins and herbicides and pesticides, and there's all kinds of poisons in our world today. But what causes chronic disease and those scary diagnoses that we all hate to hear and get, and we've all struggled with family members getting XYZ diseases and things as serious as cancer, parasites.
Really? Parasites can cause that?
100%.
Oh, that's a question I want to get to. That was another question.
Yeah, I mean, 1 minute on it. Think about it.
Well,
we're fearfully and wonderfully made. The human body's amazing. Cells and tissues and organs are designed to work a certain way. And the only reason they stop functioning properly is something poisons them.
They're banging into the other cells. They cause them to...
It's like you got a really clean pond in your yard, and all of a sudden, somebody dumps some waste into it, right? And all of a sudden the fish start dying and the frogs start dying, and then you start having bacteria grow and mosquitoes start populating there. It's the same thing. It's just happening inside of our bodies. But we don't see inside of our bodies, so we don't think about it, right? And the medical system ignores these things. But it's a toxic environment inside of the body. So cancer is a metabolic disorder of cells gone rogue. But the only reason a cell goes rogue is because it doesn't have the proper building materials to build a healthy new cell. So it replicates cells using toxic, poisonous ingredients, and that causes this abnormal cell growth. So cells actually change from being oxygenated, healthy cells to living in an oxygen-depleted environment, yet still replicating, and that's what causes cancer.
And those cells, as they replicate, they're creating more cells and more cells and more cells that are all the
I call
toxic
them
cells.
Rogue cells. Yeah, toxic cells.
Yeah.
So cells are supposed to repopulate in an oxygen-rich environment. Okay, think of healthy spring water.
Sure.
Right? And then we have an oxygen-depleted environment. Now think a green pond full of, dead fish, right? But the body has to keep making new cells based on the environment in which it's living. We can't continue to live as humans unless cells are growing and we're creating new cells. So now we're creating new cells in an unhealthy, oxygen-depleted environment. This is why, quote-unquote, sugar feeds cancer.
That was another question here.
Okay, well, ask the question. We'll go right into it.
Okay,
if we got time.
Let me. I got 3 minutes.
Okay,
that was another. That was another question. What do you crave when you have a parasite?
Yeah, so sugar, right?
You crave sugar.
You crave sugar, starches, and carbohydrates because your gut's messed up, your microbiome's messed up, your gut bacteria are messed up. Your body's craving. Here is a saying I heard a long time that I really believe. Whatever you're craving is what's killing you. Right? Because I don't know about you, but I know very few people that are like, man, I just crave cucumbers. Like, I can't get enough cucumbers. I have not had my cucumber today. Right? Who does that? Right? I just haven't had my celery stick. I think I'm addicted to celery. I haven't had my celery today. Right? Nobody does that. Right? We crave what's killing us. I haven't had my alcohol wine today.
Junk food.
I haven't had my chocolate today. I haven't had my cinnamon roll today. I haven't had my bread today. I haven't had, X, Y, Z.
Junk food.
Yeah, junk food. So if it's a craving and it's an addiction, then it's usually because there's something in your body, there's an imbalance in your body driving that craving or driving that addiction. And most of the time it's infectious disease. So we're feeding the organisms that are reproducing poison and killing us slowly from the inside out.
And we're not saying that all that stuff is bad. We're just saying that if you have a craving for those kinds of things. I mean,
right.
Some of that chocolate and everything.
Bread's not bad. Chocolate's not bad.
No.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just what's going on inside of our body. And is it an abnormal addiction and craving versus just a normal, like, oh, yeah, I like chocolate once in a while, like no big deal, versus I better have my chocolate today. There's a difference.
It's like it reminds me of like a pregnant woman, because there's a child in her growing, and she craves, pickles or whatever the weird food is.
Well, they crave what they need.
Right.
Why do they crave pickles? They're actually needing the salt.
Oh.
My wife, one pregnancy, she craved bone broths and soups and those kind of things. The next pregnancy, the smell of that made her nauseous, and all she wanted was fruit. So, we got to listen to the body. The body's telling us what it needs. Those cravings are for a purpose, for pregnant women, because they need something.
My ex-wife said that she craved on her last child, all she craved was avocados.
Yeah, she probably needed the fats, right?
She ate them every day.
So that's I think that's a different type of a craving. That's a type of a craving based on something the body needs.
Right. No, I totally understand.
Versus unhealthy cravings of, addictive things because we have parasites per se.
Right. And on that, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to follow up with a couple more questions. And then I want to dive back into a couple of these things we had talked about earlier. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Come to the Spirit of Health Wellness Center, where we determine the root cause of your health problems. While the medical system treats your symptoms, we treat the cause. The true diagnosis you need to hear are things like Lyme disease, mold toxicity, and heavy metal poisoning. Get real answers, hope, and take charge of your health through our detoxification programs and therapies. Shop over 200 varieties of organic bulk herbs and supplements in-store or online. Go to spiritofhealthkc.com. Spirit of Health, transforming lives through real health solutions.
Welcome back to This is Kansas City. We're joined in studio with Spirit of Health and Dr. Vaughn Lawrence, 5901 Main Street in Grandview, Missouri. They've been there 10 years. They had an Overland Park store for 5 years. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, and we moved to Grandview. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you needed all the space. I mean, you've got a 10,000 square foot warehouse there.
Yeah, we're in 3 buildings now. Yep.
Wow, it's big. And it's right off a highway. It's right on Main Street, right off of Highway 49. You can get Main Street, you can get there, or right off the highway. You just, whether direction you're going, I think it's, what is it, east?
Yeah, it's east. Yeah, it'd be on like the southeast, right?
Yeah, about
corner.
A couple blocks.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Right next to the Dairy Queen. Woohoo!
You can call them at 816-492-5648 or spiritofhealthkc.com. We were going over some of this. This is super interesting, and I'm glad we're getting out this information because I watch the news all the time. I listen to talk radio all the time. That's what I do, basically. I might turn a movie on late night, but that's about it. I've never heard this discussion, what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it on mainstream media.
Right.
And it needs to get out there. All right. Question was, how do you prevent parasites?
How do you prevent parasites?
Can you prevent them in any way?
So the way you prevent parasites is what people did through all of human history until the last 100 years. Okay? When modern medicine came along, we said, we got a better way, and it's XYZ. But before that, for 7,000 years, everybody everywhere in the world would do a parasite cleanse at least twice a year. That was normal.
How did they have the parasite cleanse?
Castor oil. Different herbs. They'd get them from their doctor or in town or whatever.
Their barber.
Yeah, the barber. Yeah, exactly. But people just knew about this because this was normal life. Was if you did a parasite cleanse once or twice a year, it kept you healthy. It kept you well, and people knew that. Right. So we've lost that because of the fallacy of modern medicine has a better way. Right. So the way you prevent it, because you're not going to prevent encountering parasites. Yeah, we've talked about that. Cats, dogs, animals, farm animals, food, uncooked food, sushi, blah, blah, blah. Right. You're not going to avoid parasites. So you got to, do parasite cleanse every single year, including your kids, ideally twice a year. And if you have a parasite problem, talk to somebody like me or somebody who knows what they're doing, because you're probably going to want a parasite cleanse for a few months just to make sure you get rid of them all and get rid of the eggs. As we already talked about, the eggs are insane, right? And the other thing we need to do is we need to have a strong immune system, because it really comes down to, is our immune system strong or are they weak? Can they handle what's coming in the body or can they not handle what's coming in the body? So those are the keys.
I wonder if parasites exist in like vegetables and that kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, they do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We've heard of outbreaks. That's more bacterial, but you hear about outbreaks of, contaminated lettuce or,
What's that called?
the listeria, the E.
Listeria.
coli. There's been all kinds of stuff out there.
Is that a parasite?
No, that's bacteria, but it's still the same concept. It's from something contaminated. And by the way, this is why I'm big on not eating pork as well, but most all of that contamination comes from runoff from pig farms.
And or fertilizer that they're putting on. I heard that there's some farms that around, not here, but around the world that use waste as fertilizer.
Right. Which, well, let's not get into that, but, the normal cycle of life, if you had land and you had property, is you'd want your horses and cows pooping and using that as fertilizer on your garden.
No, horses and stuff. I'm talking about human.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, that's disgusting.
It is.
Yeah. I believe
disgusting.
it. It's disgusting world out there.
Horribly. No, a horse, yes.
Know where your food's coming from.
A horse is only eating grass. It's good. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me kind of you go back to, what was it, the 1500 or the medieval Dark Ages.
Yep.
And you had the bubonic plague, which was a giant plague that killed, a third or so of Europe.
A third of Europe, yeah, roughly, yeah.
And they found out later, after all this, they don't know what was causing it and what was all this. It was a parasite.
You know what I heard?
What?
I don't know if this is true or not. I've looked into this a little bit. I heard that they were putting dead animals, rats, bats, like unclean dead animals into the wells, into the water supply. That it was done intentionally.
Really?
Yeah. Versus some scary mystery outbreak that just happened to kill. Like scary mystery outbreaks.
I mean, those parasites were on rats.
Right.
And those parasites then got off the rats and people were getting so sick and everything.
So dump them into the water supply.
What's going to happen? Everybody else is going to get it. And then they found out that one doctor, what simple treatment? Wash your bedding and clothes.
Right. And cleanliness
will get rid of a lot of parasites.
Exactly. This goes back to biblical clean versus unclean. If everything's clean, we're healthy and well. If everything's unclean, we have contamination, sickness, and disease. Same problem we're dealing with today. Parasites are what? They're unclean. So if there's uncleanness in our body, if we're eating unclean things like, cats, dogs, feces getting somehow, into our bodies, into kids, it's going to be full of parasites.
So wash your hands frequently.
Yes.
And we're not trying to scare people here.
No.
We're just trying to prevent.
Common sense. Use common sense.
Wash your fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
There are people that just take it right home and eat it.
So we have a bubbler, we call it. It's an ozone bubbler we sell in the store. $99. This thing is cheap. And you literally take all your fruits and vegetables that you just bought, stick it in your sink full of water, and put the ozone bubbler in there, and you're basically ozonating or oxygenating all those fruits and vegetables, and it just pulls all of those contaminants off it. It even pulls the pesticides off.
And then what do you do? Just drain the sink, and then you're
and then let them dry. Yep, dry it, and then put it away. So whether it's your apples, your grapes, your beets, your pears, whatever, you can just quickly zap it with ozone, and it's going to kill all the parasites and bacteria, and it'll even pull the pesticides off.
How long does that last? I mean,
I do it for 15 minutes.
No, I mean, is it good once?
Yeah, just do it once.
For $99? Just one time?
Oh, no. No, it's a machine.
Oh, it's a machine.
Oh, yeah. You can make ozonated water to drink. You can brush your teeth with it. You can do an ozone bath. You can use that thing for 1,000 different things. And it's $99. You use it over and over and over and over and over.
What's the benefit of in a bath and stuff?
Extra oxygen.
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
Genesis 2:7, I quote all the time, for the Lord God formed man out of dust of the earth. That's why we need minerals. But the next sentence, and breathed into him the breath of life. So oxygen, the breath of life, oxygen's the most important thing we need. Cancer, right? Cancer is oxygen depletion. You could argue that every disease known to man is a deficiency in oxygen. Why are all these parasites living in the body that we talk about? We're oxygen deprived. If we had enough oxygen in our bodies, these infections couldn't live.
Is oxygen a poison, though?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Oxygen's necessary for life. I mean, anything can be poisonous in excess.
Right.
Right? I remember hearing a story about a guy who drank a gallon of water in one sitting and it killed him. Well, okay, that's probably not smart to just pound a gallon of water. Yeah, you just drowned yourself, right? Like, we got to use common sense, right?
And people, make sure you cook your meats.
Please.
Okay? That is, you got to cook them to the proper temperature. It's easy to find out. You can Google it or do whatever you need to do. You can find out what temperature to get it to, especially pork.
Especially pork. Pork is full of parasites.
Yeah, a lot of worms, a lot of parasites. So you don't make sure you get everything to the right temp, and you're going to be. And then drink only like filtered water or bottled water when you're traveling.
Definitely filtered water. Yep.
When you're traveling.
Spring water. Yeah, when you're traveling. Yep.
Because
don't drink tap water.
You don't. Yeah, don't drink tap water because you never know.
It's just very contaminated. It's not going to have parasites in it, but it's going to be contaminated for sure.
And so, when we left off last time, we were talking a little bit about cancer, and you were, and boy, it just seems like it exploded over the past 30 years.
Yeah.
With the amount
and again in the last 5 years.
And again, and yes, it just seems like it's exploding in our population like crazy. And so they're dumping all this money into research, but nobody gets to the root cause of the cancer.
No, none of that research will ever cure cancer.
And that's why it brings me to this question. I have recurring cancer of different forms. This is the third time. I eat healthy. I don't eat sugar or table salt. I exercise. I generally lead a very healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
How do I know what the root cause is? I think we answered your question.
Yeah.
It's parasites.
Right. Well,
or it could be something else.
Yeah, in that type of situation, like you're doing all the right things, which is huge. That's going to help you live longer. But if you have mold or parasites or a fungal overgrowth or Lyme disease or bacterial contamination or a viral issue like Epstein-Barr or et cetera, right? You're not going, those things aren't going to just magically leave your body because you're eating healthier, right? You actually have to do something to clear those toxins out of your body, which is what I specialize in, right? Do the lab testing, find out what you have. Okay, you have mold, let's treat it this way. Okay, you have parasites, let's treat it this way. And you actually have to help clear the body of these contaminants. This is exactly why God gave us medicine. God gave us plants. God gave us herbs that kill parasites. God gave us herbs that kill mold. God gave us sunshine and heat. And God gave us a body that can detoxify via sweat and through our stool and through our urine. So we have to learn to utilize what God has given us to heal and detoxify the body. And because we've abandoned the natural ways God gave us for medicine and to heal the body and instead chosen man-made pharmaceutical drugs, we now have more sickness and more chronic disease than ever in human history.
It just, and people on the other side, people would argue, they'd say, well, there's just more people. So, of course, the numbers are going to go up.
No.
Our population's exploded.
I mean, if modern medicine was doing anything to help us, the numbers would be better and the numbers would be decreasing, and it's the opposite. So it has nothing to do with the population. It has to do with our choices for how we're treating sickness and disease.
All right, run me through how the cleansing process works. How does it work?
Like,
I
what do you
go into
mean?
your store. I go to Spirit of Health, and I want to get a parasite cleanse.
Right.
Is it in the form of powder? Is it a tea?
Capsules and liquids.
Capsules and liquids.
Right. So a lot of the herbal capsules are great for the intestinal parasites. You always want to do liquids we talked about protozoan parasites or the microscopic ones that can be in the blood. So there's a lot of different types of treatments I use, not just herbal treatments. There's also chlorine dioxide. There's also, I mentioned the therapies. I have a Rife machine, different other ways you can treat parasites as well. So it's usually a combination of things depending on what it is. But to start out, we have cleanses. They're already set up with instructions. You can go in, buy a little kit, follow the instructions, and do a parasite cleanse, and we walk it out for you. If you're working with me directly, there's other things I'm going to do.
All right, I got to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to close out the show. I'm going to jump to a couple of your quick questions when we get back. This is Kansas City.
Time for this week's wellness tip from Dr. Vaughn, brought to you by Spirit of Health.
What if the pain you've been living with isn't the problem, but the symptom? Whether it's joint pain, back pain, or inflammation that just won't go away, pain is never the root problem. It's a symptom of something deeper. And too often, the solution we're offered? More pills. Nearly 70% of American adults take at least one prescription drug, and more than 1 in 4 take 4 or more every single day. Pain medications like NSAIDs, acetaminophen, and opioids mask the pain, but they don't heal it. In fact, long-term use can cause hormone imbalances, immune suppression, and even make pain worse over time. I'm Dr. Vaughn from Spirit of Health, and we believe your body was designed to heal. We offer natural solutions for inflammation, professional therapies, and powerful herbal support to reduce pain and restore movement, helping you safely reduce or even get off medications whenever possible. Don't mask your pain with another pill. Let's uncover the real cause and create a plan to get you feeling strong again. Call Spirit of Health today at 816-492-5648 or look us up at Spirit of Health.
We're going to wrap up this show. We've had a great show talking today about a subject that needs to be talked about. If you want any more information or you missed any part of the show, go to spiritofhealthkc.com for more information, or they're located right at 5901 Main Street, Grandview, Missouri. I want to let you all know you can go online and get all of these kits, cleanses, vitamins, whatever you want.
Yep, parasite
online.
cleanses. Yep.
Now, the next question was, can a parasite cleanse hurt me?
Yeah, that's a good question because parasites are becoming more understood. At least there's a growing awareness of it, that it's really a problem. And so can you just walk into a health food store like ours and get a parasite cleanse, and can that be damaging? And the honest truth is, yeah. I mean, you do have to be cautious. So we do have a couple of different options for parasite cleanses. And so I recommend doing a more basic beginner cleanse, which for ours is called the Dr. Clark 3-part parasite cleanse. And I would do that because you start with very low dosages, you titrate up slowly just to make sure you don't have any negative reactions to it. And then we have an advanced parasite cleanse. So here's what I tell people. I'll give you the lowdown, what I tell everybody that does parasite cleansing with me. You're always looking for a response, good or bad. So in other words, you can be like, oh my gosh, this is great. I feel better. I feel lighter. My brain's working better. My brain fog's lifting. I have more energy. That's great. Or you can be like, man, I feel sick, nauseous. My head hurts. I got diarrhea. Well, that's good too, because that means you have parasites and you're killing them and you need to clear them from your body. It's just those negative side effects means that the toxic poisons and wastes are causing side effects and you need to clear it out faster, right? So you need to do something to make your bowels move more, do an enema, there's different things you can do, but you're always looking for some type of a response. So to answer your question, if somebody's really, really, really chronically ill and they've never done a parasite cleanse before and they jump into a parasite cleanse, it can be hard. And I've had people try to return parasite cleanses because they're like, oh, I'm allergic to this, or this made me sick, or this cost XYZ. And they just don't understand that, no, it's because it's working and it's because you have parasites. And you have to either start slow and work your way up, or you might need a more basic product, or you might need to work on drainage first. Drainage is, are your bowels moving at least twice a day? Are you supporting your kidneys? Are you supporting your liver? Are you sweating in a sauna? Are you walking every day? So I always support detox pathways and drainage pathways before getting into parasite cleansing, because the truth is if you're really sick and you do a really strong parasite cleanse, it can kick your butt. And so you have to be really careful, because you'll think it's not working. You'll want to return it because you think it's doing something bad, and that's not true.
That's why you go to see Dr. Vaughn Lawrence and his well-trained staff at Spirit of Health. They're going to direct you in the right way. Don't make a bad decision. Go to spiritofhealthkc.com for more information. We're going to be back next time on the show with Dr. Vaughn. We'll have a great discussion then. We'll be back every weekday